Have you ever noticed that the moment you begin to truly change, the people around you start to grow uneasy? They won't say it outright. Instead, they'll hide it behind jokes, behind advice disguised as concern, or in that uncomfortable silence that falls when you speak about something deeper. But beneath it all, what's really happening is simple. Your mental evolution threatens their comfort zone, and no one likes to be forced to face their own complacency. Maybe this is happening to you right now. You've started to think differently, to act differently, to question things you once accepted without hesitation. And suddenly, you feel isolated, misunderstood, judged, maybe even rejected. What no one tells you, yet what nature has always known, is that this is the price of forging a powerful mind. Not a superficial kind of strength, but a strength so real, so raw, that it unsettles others. It exposes, without a word, the weakness of those still living on autopilot. Why does this happen? Because a truly awakened mind is a threat to collective mediocrity. And nature made this clear. The moment you begin to think for yourself, to create your own values, and to abandon the comforting illusion of ready-made truths, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the system, dangerous to others, and most of all, dangerous to your former self. This video is a call, a challenge. It is not made for those who seek comfort or easy answers. It's made for those who are tired of being prisoners of their own insecurities. Those who feel on the edge of an internal breaking point, ready to construct something unshakable, a mind that cannot be manipulated, a mind that terrifies because it does not yield. If you feel ready for this journey, a lonely, demanding yet deeply transformative one, stay. Because what Nietzsche has to teach you will confront you, but it can also set you free. And after this, you will never think the same way again. Nietzsche was not just a philosopher. He was a surgeon of the human soul, a man bold enough to stare into the abyss of existence and not only face it, but dive into it. It was there, in that chaos that most people run from, that he found the source of genuine strength. For Nietzsche, transformation never happens in peace, stability, or comfort. It happens in pain, in collapse, in disorder. He wrote, "One must have chaos within to give birth to a dancing star." This was not mere poetry. It was psychological truth. It means that to build an unshakable mind, you must abandon the childish illusion that it will happen through comfort, fake motivation, or positive affirmations. True strength is born when you face suffering without running away. When you stop wishing for life to be easier and instead wish to become stronger. Think back to your moments of greatest growth. Did they come when life was easy, or when you were broken, lost, and forced to rebuild yourself from nothing? Nietzsche believed suffering was not a flaw in existence, but its driving force. He didn't glorify pain, he mastered it as a tool. And when you shift your relationship with pain, failure, and solitude, you begin to forge something rare, an indomitable spirit. That's when the world begins to feel uneasy around you. Because while most people flee from chaos, you'll learn to walk through it. While others cling to normality, you'll create greatness. But this transformation demands a ruthless break from everything you were taught about strength. Being strong isn't about constant smiles or fake emotional balance. True strength is the ability to endure the unbearable and emerge even more formidable. Yet Nietzsche understood that chaos alone isn't enough. It can destroy you if you lack an inner anchor. That's why in the next part, we'll explore the most decisive moment in Nietzsche's philosophy, when he kills, guard, and places upon you the full weight of existential responsibility. Because when there's no longer a sky to look up to, it's within you that the universe must be reborn. If this message resonates with you, hit the subscribe button and join the channel. Thank you for your support. When Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," he wasn't celebrating. He was warning us. A warning that even today, most people still fail to understand. What he killed was not a divine being, but an illusion. The illusion that there is some higher authority watching over everything, that there exists a plan, a pre-designed meaning, a purpose handed down from beyond. The death of God marks the end of all excuses. And that is terrifying, because until then it was easy to hand off responsibility for your own life. It was comforting to believe that everything happens for a reason, that suffering is part of a divine plan, that in the end, some greater good will make it all worthwhile. But Nietzsche violently tears that veil away. He stares straight into your eyes and says, "You are alone. There is no pre-written meaning. Now you are the creator." And it's here that the true construction of a powerful mind begins. Because most people collapse when they realize they are utterly alone in the face of chaos, with no manual, no guarantees, no one left to blame. But those who have the courage to face this truth without crumbling begin to forge something indestructible, an unshakable consciousness. With the death of God, Nietzsche throws you into the abyss of radical freedom. You are no longer meant to follow commandments. You are meant to create values. You are not here to obey. You are here to transcend yourself. This is the birth of brutal autonomy, and along with it comes the full weight of existence. Everything now depends on you. There is no absolution anymore. There is no salvation. Either you build yourself or you fall apart. But here's the secret. The same freedom that terrifies you is also the greatest source of power you will ever possess. When you truly grasp that no one is coming to save you, something awakens inside, a fire that refuses to die, a force that pushes you to rise even while bleeding. It drives you to think with your own mind, to feel with your own soul, and to act, not because someone told you it's right, but because you decided it is. It is in this break from every existential crutch that Nietzsche prepares the ground for something far greater, the birth of a new kind of human being, a being who does not live according to the rules of the herd, who doesn't seek approval or permission, a being who creates their own morality, who surpasses their own limits, who lives as a creator. And this kind of being terrifies the weak, because it forces them to confront themselves as they truly are. Nietzsche gave this being a name, the Übermensch, the Overman. And that is who we will speak about next, because if you wish to build a mind so strong that nothing can shatter it, you must understand how to become this figure, one who rises above conventions, guided only by their own will to power. Let's dive into that. Nietzsche did not believe in the slow, passive evolution of humanity. He believed in rupture, in radical transformation, in creative destruction. That's why he conceived the idea of the Übermensch, the Overman. But the Übermensch is not a superhero. He isn't someone with mystical powers or divine gifts. He is a human being who has transcended everything that chains the ordinary. Man, guilt, obedience, herd morality, and the constant craving for approval. The Übermensch does not seek to be accepted. He does not ask for permission to exist. He creates his own inner laws and lives by them, even if doing so puts him against the entire world. And it's precisely because of this that his mind becomes unbreakable, because it is not built on the fragile foundations of other people's expectations. It does not require external validation to exist. It is self-sufficient, feeding entirely on its own will to power, the deep instinct to shape reality in its own image. That is the essence of Nietzsche's vision. The Übermensch does not adapt to the world. He imposes meaning upon it. He does not seek comfort. He seeks greatness. He never asks, "Is this allowed?" He asks, "Is this worthy of me?" And that shift in perception changes everything. Because when you begin to see yourself not as a servant, but as a creator, the way you think, act, and feel transforms at its core. But here lies the challenge. To become this kind of being demands sacrifice. You will have to kill the parts of yourself that still beg for approval. You will have to endure the pain of not belonging. You will have to bear the burden of constructing your identity from the ground up, with no guarantees, no applause, and no comforting words from the crowd. Most people cannot bear that. They give up before they even begin. They run back to the safety of ready-made beliefs, to dogmas, to rules written by someone else, because it's easier to obey than to create. The path to the Übermensch is lonely, and Nietzsche knew this. He himself lived on the margins, misunderstood, branded insane, isolated from the very world he tried to awaken. But it was in that isolation that he found his freedom. And this is what you must understand. The stronger your mind becomes, the further you drift from the masses. The higher you rise, the more you disturb those below. The creation of the Übermensch is the most brutal and transformative process a person can undergo, because it demands that you destroy everything that is not truly yours. Everything imposed upon you by a decaying culture and a society that rewards obedience, but punishes authenticity. Only after that destruction can the real construction begin, and that construction doesn't happen amidst the noise of the crowd. It happens in silence, in retreat, in the deep solitude that separates the strong from the weak. And that is exactly where we're going next, because the next stage of this journey is the most misunderstood, yet the most powerful of all, the solitude of the strong. Because to become unshakable, you must first learn to walk alone. The question is, are you ready? If there's one truth no one tells you about the path to mental strength, it's this: the stronger you become, the lonelier you will feel. And it's not because you isolate yourself by choice. It's because the world doesn't know how to deal with you anymore. Nietzsche spoke clearly about this. The free spirit, the one who breaks away from conventional morality, who refuses to accept easy truths, who thinks independently, inevitably distances themselves from the herd. And that distance hurts. But that pain is necessary because real growth requires space. You cannot evolve while being tethered to the expectations of others. Most people live inside an invisible herd, where every thought is policed, every action measured by how others react. We get used to walking in a group, thinking like the group, feeling secure because there are people around. But nature proposes the opposite. It tears you from that comfort and casts you into the desert. In that desert, there is no applause, no praise, no guide. There is only you, your doubts, your traumas, your fears, your desire to give up. And this is where the true test begins. Because what will most people do? They will run back. They will hide behind their masks. They will pretend they do not feel, do not think, do not see. But you, if you truly want to become someone unbreakable, you must stay. You must endure the silence that exposes who you really are. Nietzsche said, "The individual must always struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe." You will often feel lonely and sometimes afraid, but no price is too high to pay for possessing yourself. That is the essence of self-possession, the rarest, most powerful achievement anyone can attain. Because when you truly possess yourself, no one can control you. No one can dictate your worth. No one can bring you down. But this possession comes at a cost: loneliness, misunderstanding, criticism. People will call you arrogant, strange, distant. They will try to drag you back into their mold. They will label you crazy, cold, or insensitive. This is the price of not being domesticated, the price of not needing applause, the price of refusing to live as a mirror of others' needs. And here is the harsh truth. If you cannot endure loneliness, you are not ready for freedom. True freedom demands abandonment, the abandonment of emotional crutches, comfortable illusions, and utilitarian friendships. That is why nature saw solitude as a privilege, a battlefield where the true self finally has room to emerge. Yet this elevated mind does not simply walk alone. It begins to see what others cannot. And with this clarity comes the next inevitable challenge: confrontation with mediocrity. Because as your mind sharpens, as your spirit strengthens, as your presence becomes undeniable, you begin to disturb the world, not because you are wrong, but because you are rare. You are breaking the mold, and society despises those who do. Nietzsche warned of the subtle, corrosive power of collective mediocrity, the invisible system that keeps everyone leveled down, punishes independent thought, rewards obedience, and disguises cowardice as virtue. True tyranny does not always come from above. It comes from the crowd that insists you remain small so they do not have to grow. When you start to stand out, when your mind becomes sharper and your spirit firmer, mediocrity reacts. Sometimes openly, sometimes subtly, with looks, silence, irony. The message is always the same. Go back. Stop making us feel small. Stop being yourself. Most people live paralyzed by conformity, shaped by fear, guilt, and obedience. Anyone who questions this state is perceived as a threat. Mediocrity does not attack with force. It attacks with numbers, consensus, and repetition. It will make you doubt yourself. It will make you feel wrong for not fitting in. It will use shame, exclusion, and social pressure to bend you. And this is where many give up, because they cannot bear being the strange, the difficult, the arrogant. But nature would call this struggle necessary. While the world clings to recycled ideas, manufactured desires, and comforting illusions, the strong individual brings discomfort, the spark of transformation. Your difference is the catalyst, but it is also the target. Being strong, thinking freely, living autonomously, all of this is an act of war against collective mediocrity. And like any war, it requires preparation. It requires weapons, not physical weapons, but mental weapons. And that is exactly what we will explore in the final part, because developing a mind so strong it terrifies comes at a high cost, but also offers a reward that no one can ever take away. In this final part, you will understand both the price and the power of becoming unbreakable. You've made it this far, and that alone sets you apart from the majority. Most people would have closed this video at the first provocation. They would have turned away at the first sign of discomfort. They would have switched off the moment they realize this. Content is not meant to stroke the ego. It's a call to action. A call for those who are ready to let go of comfortable illusions and face reality with eyes wide open. Because building a mind so strong it is feared is not merely a choice, it is a renunciation. You will lose. You will lose friendships rooted in superficiality. You will lose opportunities that demand submission. You will lose the ability to settle for little. But in return, you gain something priceless: integrity, clarity, presence. You begin to see that most people live in a fog, and that your lucidity is unsettling, that your firmness shakes others, that your absence resonates louder than the presence of many. This strength does not come from outside. It is not taught in self-help books. It is not earned with convenient phrases or empty affirmations. It is dug from the depths of the soul, in the silence of difficult nights, in choices no one witnesses. It is the result of an internal war, a battle between who you were and who you are becoming. And that war has no end, because the truly strong are not those who have already won. They are those who continue to fight, even when victory is possible. Nature did not intend to create followers. Nature intended to provoke internal earthquakes, to make you stop crawling for approval, stop begging for meaning, stop searching in ready-made systems for what can only be built through blood, sweat, and awareness. Nature wanted you to become dangerous, not in the sense of violence, but in a rare, profound sense, so rare that your very existence compels others to look in the mirror and confront the truths they have been avoiding. And now, consider this as part of your journey, the act of claiming your voice, speaking a truth you've hidden, voicing an opinion you fear, a thought that isolates you, but one that is authentically yours. Because stepping into this strength means declaring that you will no longer bend. If this video has stirred something within you, if it has awakened something that was dormant, do not stop here. The journey continues. The next step will be just as vital, perhaps even more so. You are not watching out of mere curiosity. You are here because something inside you has already begun to change. Keep going. You are not alone. You are simply ahead. And that, my friend, is both frightening and liberating.